Welcome to the See Me, Be Me podcast. I'm Nile Henry.
And I'm Blair Henry.
And we're two brothers who set out on a mission to make motorsport and STEM careers more diverse, affordable, and inclusive. We are the founders of the Blair Project.
This podcast series delves into the minds of inspirational individuals who come from ordinary and often humble backgrounds, but through their belief, dogged determination, and never give up attitude, have managed to overcome academic, social, or mental challenges to achieve their dream careers.
Our guests will share their life lessons that you too can apply to your own. We hope their stories will inspire you to go further, aim higher, and accept nothing less than you deserve. Your ambition, your purpose is all within, and we're here to help you unlock it. The planet of possibilities are endless.
You know who made it.
So, on today's episode, we are joined by Sabrina Ben Salmi, who is a highly accomplished and professional in the field of personal development, business, parenting, and family development. She's been featured on radio, TV, newspapers, and magazines as well. Sabrina is the winner of the Best Dyslexic-Owned Business Black Achievement Award and is recognised as number 2 on the Voices list of the top 50 most inspirational Black women in the UK back in 2019. Today we'll be discussing Sabrina's journey from her professional background, raising 5 children who are successful entrepreneurs in their own right, and the importance of empowering our young people so that they can reach their full potential. So, without further ado, let's get started.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the See Me, Be Me podcast. Today, we have Sabrina Ben Salmi. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Excellent. So, Sabrina, for our audience at home, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and how did you end up on the journey or the pathway that you're currently on right now?
Wow. Yeah, you jumped straight in. So, as Liz said, my name's Sabrina Ben Salmi. I'm a mother of 5. My background is actually in computer science. I studied at university, absolutely loved it. Didn't go pursue it as a career, interestingly enough. It talks a bit about the journey. So I became a mum, had to kind of choose between going in my career and being at home. And there was a battle, work-life balance, I always say to people, was a hot mess for me. It wasn't pretty at all. I struggled. And I got to that point where I just invited my kids into my life. So I'm a mother of 5 entrepreneurial children. And I must say that the journey picked me. I didn't pick the journey. I was fighting. I had a different plan. And it was the moment I gave in, that's where pure magic started to happen.
And in terms of your background and just growing up, Sabrina, what is it like when you were younger? What did you want to be like before you obviously set off on like an entrepreneurial journey?
Okay, great question. So just to give the listeners an idea, so what I do now, I'm an author, publisher. I've been selected to be a delegate for the UN Women UK quota. I sit on a couple of boards. I've set up a school. But I say all of that to say this: when I was a child, my dream was to become a professional footballer. I ate football, I slept football, everything was about football. It was the only thing I was good at growing up.
Which team do you support?
Arsenal as a family. I don't watch football as much as I used to, but I loved football. I used to play for Millwall Lionesses.
Right, okay. So you wanted to be a footballer when you were younger, and so where did the love or the interest of going down the route of being a computer scientist? So you obviously went to university to study that. Was that something you'd always wanted to do, or was that like 18? You were like choosing options, like, all right, I'll go and do computer science.
Yeah, no, great question. No, actually, I was inspired by my father's younger sister. So she's actually the same age as me. I think we're just months apart. And she was at university studying this. And I became a young mum. So I was pregnant at 19 and gave birth at 20. And I remembered hearing about her journey. And I thought, right, I love that. It's logical. Let me delve into that. But being a mum, studying, life took its own twist, but that was really where the inspiration came. I looked at the salary, I thought brilliant, had some contacts in Canary Wharf, and I was set that that was going to be my pathway. But little did I know it was going to change very quickly.
That's interesting. And how was that? You know, being a mum and studying and trying to do a degree. How was it trying to juggle and balance all of that?
It was interesting. So at that time, I was a single mum. I had so much drive. There's so much drive in young people. I think it's one of the most untapped areas. You know, at that time, we believe we can fly, soar. There's nothing we can't do. So I remember my why. My why was my daughter. So everything I did wasn't a case of can I, can't I? It has to happen, right? So I had this massive why. So it drove everything that I stepped into.
And where has that drive come from? Because we've had a couple of people on the podcast who say, and they've been ones who did sport as a young kid, and you know, it's having that motivation, that determination to be the best. Do you feel like that's probably where some of that's come from? Is from your sporting days of playing football, or where or is it, you know, family have always pushed you and motivated you to be so driven? Where does that come from?
I think that's a great question. I think it comes from my faith, if I be entirely honest, to create the connection I have with God. I won't go into it too much. We might discuss it as we go along. I had quite a turbulent childhood. And I remember asking God to make my life mean something. So when I became a mother, when I held my daughter for the first time, I remembered being the happiest I've ever been in my life, but it was also I felt the biggest fear that I've ever felt in my life. It was mixed emotions. I didn't want to let this young lady down.
Yeah.
And I think that's where that ultimate motivation came from. It was something I've never felt before, and I can't quite describe. You know, when you love someone beyond words, there's something very unique that activates, and words can't quite describe it.
And just going back again, Sabrina, on your childhood and whatnot, who were some like your role models growing up? Did you have any role models?
Interestingly enough, actually, no. There's one gentleman that stood out. His name's Howard. I was a child, so I didn't really know his surname at that time. We didn't really call them by their surname. So I went to a number of schools as I was diagnosed with dyslexia in university, but at school it was never picked up. But this, it was interesting. So we used to go out to Wimpy. I don't know if anyone knows what Wimpy is, but I guess it's like McDonald's, you know, when we were growing up. And he taught me how to play chess. And that blew my mind because I was always told I wasn't good enough. I wasn't good at anything. And here this young man came into my life. Well, not young man, you know, he was my teacher, came into my life. And he invested in me. He invested time and effort. And to be honest, that was the first positive male interaction I ever had. I didn't grow up with my father. When he was there, he wasn't really a positive influence. I didn't really have that interaction at that level. And what was so beautiful is when I became a mother, I passed that on, that legacy that he instilled in me, so that all 5 of my children now play chess, and one of my sons actually became a STEM ambassador for Brunel University and wants to bring out his own chess game. So that means a lot to me.
Well, I mean, you are the mother of 5 entrepreneurial children. So the Ben Salmis. So you've raised a family of entrepreneurs. So I see you guys had like a motto as well. Ben Salmi, teamwork makes the dream work. So what is it like? Raising like 5 entrepreneurs?
Plot twist. Let's just start there. When I became a mum, you know, I don't know if many parents can relate, but I definitely put both of my hands up. There's this nuance of we're teaching them. Well, actually, I feel that it's a surrendering and ebbs and flow, and we have to learn each other. When you're a parent several times over. So my motherhood journey taught me that number one, when they're young, you're not in charge. Absolutely not. You have to become good at negotiating. You know, you have to learn each other and really, really dig deep. But the beauty, I would say, is that sometimes we believe that children are blank slates. They're not. They're not empty cups that we need to pour into. And this is just my belief. Like, being a mother taught me that they arrive with these skills and blessings inside of them, and it's an unwrapping, it's an unveiling. I remember one day, just as I'm talking to you, sitting in my bedroom with the kids and just asking them, like, what's your superhero skills? And they started firing off. And I was like, whoa, okay. And they, you had problems and asked them how to solve it. If you're ever in a room with a 3-year-old, 5-year-old, 7-year-old, ask them that problem. What's their superhero skills? And give them a problem to solve, something that you're really experiencing. It will be electric. And I think that was a snippet that transformed everything forever, because I realized it wasn't about me pouring into them everything, that they didn't have nothing. It was guiding them, stewarding their souls, because they came through me. They don't belong to me. And that really transformed the way I parent.
And the names of your children, your 5 children, Lachey, Trey, Yasmin, Paolo, and Amir. So what are the businesses that the 5 of them run? Just a quicker overview.
So a quick overview. So Lachey is in the world of cultural connectivity. She works with the Korean government and Korean Culture Center. She currently heads their 8 to 10 week course teaching about Korean culture. She's received an award from the First Lady of South Korea, which was just absolutely mind-blowing. And this all started in her bedroom as hobbies, and it organically turned around. So the company that she runs is Halukon, with one of her business partners, Nilza, who's amazing. She has her own publishing house called Stepping Stones Publishing. There's quite a few things she does, but that's kind of the core. Trey Sean, he's 18. He is all about financial education, and he desires to liberate 1 million young people through the essence of teaching them financial literacy. He's done a TED Talk. He's got his own publishing house called Influencer Publishing. He's currently at Harrow, actually, studying his A-levels. He's really passionate about education and the leverage. He's just finished his work experience at London Stock Exchange, gleaming from ear to ear. He loves all of that. So there's a couple of things he does, but the core is about finances. He feels that young men are told to lead a family, but they don't always know what that looks like, and they don't always have the right resources. So he wants to create that infrastructure. Yasmin, she's an aspiring surgeon. Her dream is to become a plastic surgeon. She is a member of the England Island Surgeons Association, and some amazing things are happening there. She's published a book with Chidibere Ibe. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he is transforming the medical industry, because all of the medical illustrations are actually in fair skins. So a lot of dark skinned people are being misdiagnosed. So they've collaborated on that. She's actually published her own scientific paper, and she was really excited about that this year with one of her mentors, Datina from Cambridge University. Paolo is my wild card son. He is everything that he just transformed my world. He loves breaking rules, but it's really great because he teaches us to live beyond the boundary condition, teaches us to go past the fear. So he's an ambassador for Playseat. He is an ambassador for Water to Go company, planted 10,000 trees in Tanzania. His publishing house is actually called Adventurous Publishing. He loves public speaking. He's been recognized as an activist, climate activist for his work. Yasmin's publishing house is The Choice Is Yours Publishing. Sorry, there's so many. And then last but not least, little one Mia, his publishing house is called I Am Publishing. And he's all about chess and affirmations. And he's doing some super cool things. And he's the youngest honorary STEM ambassador for Brunel University.
I mean, that's fantastic. I mean, to have 5 entrepreneurial children, that's amazing. I mean, and they've just thrown themselves into the deep end, like starting their own businesses. And just going on to my next question, Sabrina, this is a bit an interesting one, but seeing as they started their businesses, I imagine they're your children are all quite confident individuals, but because many of the young people that we've worked with in the past, they've had this almost like this fear of failure. So when your children were starting off on their like entrepreneurial journeys, did you teach them not to be scared of failure?
Do you know, that's a great question. Funny enough, I had one of my children who had a fear of success. They knew how capable they were, and they didn't want to do what they could do. They were so fearful of how big they will become. So we didn't really have a fear of success, failures consistently. So we had a mixture. But I think the interesting way we do things. So one of the things when you get to know me, I tend to use words that people understand, but then I explain it. So let me just give you a brief understanding. I think I'm a true believer that every child is creative. So my kids are not necessarily what I would say entrepreneurial. They are naturally, organically what they were made to be, right? Every child likes to draw, build, and do stuff with their hands. But in the real world, we have to use these words so everyone understands that. So what I love most about my kids, and I always say this, is that it's not a see me, just look at me. It's come join us. So there's nothing special about my kids. I know I love them. I'm always going to pick them. But if I be entirely honest, if I'm talking to a listener, in your house, there are kids and they've all got talents. They're no different to mine. Every child writes stories. Every child draws pictures. The only thing we did differently is publish them. The only thing we do differently is use the public eye, digital platforms like social media to be a fly on the wall to see them create. So going back to your question, part of our family motto is there's no such thing as failure, only feedback. So the reality is we don't look at failure as if, okay, we failed, go and hibernate, go and sit down. It's really about what do you learn from that experience? And one of Paolo's mentors, actually, someone he's collaborating with, is called Ari Rastiger. He's written this book called The Gift of Failure. You see, we've got so much of this, run away, we're failing, and embarrassment and fear around failure. Failure means we're growing. Failure means we're moving. Failure means we're trying. So we just have a different perception of what that means. So we fail often, we fail forward, we laugh at our failures, we feel embarrassed about our failures. And the reality is, the teaching, to answer your question specifically, is it's emotion. So we're not going to go, okay, I can't be sad or embarrassed sometimes. It's part of growing up. So we definitely experience the whole variation of our feelings.
Wow.
Great. And I know I've seen that the Ben Salmi family have an anthem or a motto. Can you tell our listeners what the anthem is?
Absolutely. God, I'm not going to sing for you. I can't believe you're doing this to me. Oh, there's no such thing. We believe that a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step in the right direction. We also believe that there's no such thing as failure, only feedback. If you want to be somebody, if you want to go somewhere, you better wake up and pay attention. And then the final part is, I'm ready to be somebody. I'm ready to go somewhere. I'm ready to wake up and pay attention. But the question is, are you? So it's just inviting people to just join in on this journey with us. And there's a story behind every family, and we're just inviting families to come and join with us.
No, that's great. That's great stuff. And I'm hope
I can't believe you've done that to me.
No, I saw it and I thought this is brilliant. This is brilliant. I mean, do you still use that anthem to this day? And
absolutely. If you meet, I always say to listeners, viewers, when you meet my kids, ask them about it. We'll be separate, we'll sing it or hum it, and we go home, we'll say, at 1 o'clock I was singing this, and we might find that we were doing it in synergy in different parts of wherever we are in the world. So it's very much ingrained. We want to pass this down in our family as that tradition that we have, something to unify us. I think it's really important.
Now, Sabrina, I want to take it back to you. So you're like a multi-award winning author, consultant, public speaker. But tell me, what does an average day look like for you?
I get this question a lot. It's different. It really is. Thank God for diaries. Thank God for personal assistants. It really is a case of looking at the diary in the nighttime before you go to bed, checking it in the morning to make sure nothing's changed. Every day is different. Having a call with you, amazing people, jumping on podcasts. Yesterday, we had a last minute call in the morning. I missed the call. I thought, okay, let me contact back. Got a conversation. It was Channel I think it was ITV. They asked us for a spontaneous interview. We were at home. It was like brilliant. Actually, we weren't at home. Half of them were at my mum's. So it was like, Mum, could you get them here, please? Like, they're going to be here soon. Sometimes, things are as structured as we can be, but we always leave space for organic flow. Because we're at the UN as well, like there's different events we have to attend for that. So I guess every day is different. It could be training, it could be coaching, it could be delivering, it could be public speaking. But I guess what I really want to say is it's not back to back. It isn't swamped. It isn't draining. It's the organics of life. There's no separation between our life and what we do. It's all intertwined now. Like I said before, it was a hot mess trying to balance life, but now we're just living. And in our living and being, everything goes into the diary and we just show up to what we need to be in.
Sabrina, I wanted to ask you, how important would you say mindset is to your success?
Definitely. Mindset's everything. See, if my mindset is that they're not going to like me, this isn't going to work, it crushes it before I get through the door. I think so many of us will rise or fall depending on our mindset. You see, they often say that I can open a door for you, you can walk through it, but you stay in there is dependent on your mindset. So I think mindset has been everything that's kept me going. It's got me back up when I could have just sat down. Because, the reality is we do have reasons. I don't really like to say they're excuses. We have reasons to say, I'm just tired. But mindset will get us the rest of the way.
And I was reading about you've recently, within the last 3 years, you brought a book out, which was called, was it #Homeschooling, Our Journey, How We Transitioned from State School to Homeschooling. Could you tell us a little bit more about that book?
Yes. That book, like I said, I got a very special connection to my creator. And I remember taking my kids out July 2019.
Yeah.
And while we were out, I was looking for a Bunsen burner. So if anybody's homeschooling, understand kids that are at home can do IGCSEs, and I wanted them to do the full GCSEs. So I'm like, I have to do practical science. Where's a Bunsen burner? We managed to partner up with Brunel University, and let's just say we got a lot more than a Bunsen burner. They do all kinds of things with the kids, which are amazing. But just so I can keep the answer short, #homeschooling was just about our journey. There was so much fear around homeschooling. What do I do? What don't I do? Will I get into trouble? And because I homeschooled a few years before, because my daughter was bullied in school, it meant that I had this journey, I had this wisdom that I could depart. But little did I know, obviously we all know now, the following year in March, the whole world shut down. So here I am, I've just finished the manuscript, and I heard God say to me, just as loud as you and I are speaking, publish, make the world know. So it was published, but I didn't kind of publicize it. Release it around your birthday. 2nd of March is my birthday. 18 days or maybe 20 days later, the whole world started to shut down. So I was frightened. It's like, wow, what's going on?
And then as well, just going on to some more of your successes as well, Sabrina. So I saw that you were included in the Voices list of the top 50 most inspirational Black women in the UK, which was back in 2019, and I believe you ranked number 2 on that list. So what was it like to be recognised by The Voice for your work, essentially, and just being recognised at that level?
It was beautiful. I must admit, it was really beautiful. But the fact that it was for inspiration meant everything. So inspiration is when we're in spirit. It's when we're being. So that meant so much for me. I can't put into words. And it was a surprise. I didn't realize until it was actually published and someone sent it. They sent it to me. And I was just blown away. So very touched, really, really touched.
Oh, so you had no idea beforehand that you were going to get featured in this list?
No.
Oh, wow.
Because they do like independent research, so it's, I guess, to authenticate what they're doing, because there's some powerhouses on that list. It's amazing.
Wow. So did somebody reach out to you who was like, Sabrina, you're on this list?
Yeah.
Oh.
Exactly.
Oh, wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. No, congratulations.
Thank you.
And I suppose one of the things I was reading up about you is that you're quite involved in a number of industries, and one of them very much close to our hearts is renewable energy, and wanting to make sure that we do achieve a net zero future, and try and reduce our emissions. So can you tell us about some of the projects that you've been involved in around renewable energy?
Yeah, sure. The ones that I can talk about.
Yeah.
My team will tell me off. I love talking so much. Like, you weren't supposed to say that. So, reforestation. What I do love about family, when you work as a family, it means that you can saturate different industries. That's what's been really unique and fun for us as a family. So a lot of the renewable energy stuff that we got involved in was headed by Paolo. So Paolo gets us involved in a lot of reforestation, water, carbon footprints. So these projects are really, really cool for a number of reasons. But like you said, it's impacting all of us. And it's not just about our generation. It's about us being responsible for generations to come. There's some other things that we're doing, but that will kind of show its face as it organically comes out. Yay, I'm getting better at not talking about everything. I'm going to get a thumbs up from my team. I'm the worst one in the family for things like this.
And so obviously you're doing a lot of stuff where you're inspiring, young people, as well as inspiring your kids to, follow in your footsteps and be an entrepreneur. But you're also doing some work with, Chelsea FC, the foundation, and just inspiring other kids from diverse backgrounds. Tell us about that. Tell us about some of that work you've been doing with Chelsea FC.
Absolutely. So we've been frequent at Chelsea FC for, gosh, God knows how long now. Carl and Southwell, he's an earth angel there. So we really started to do more work in 2019 when the kids came out of school. I'm like, I'm homeschooling now. What can we get involved with? So Carl and his team, they've just really wrapped us around. We've hosted events there. We attend entrepreneurial events, and it's really amazing to meet people that you wouldn't necessarily meet. But also for the kids to be in an industry, or how can I say, an environment where anything's possible. We actually met Brunel there. We've met a host of people that we get to call really friends, like our spiritual network. But mind-blowing. Anybody that's not been there or heard about it, please get in touch, definitely.
And honestly, like, what is the most enjoyable part of your job? What's the thing that you like the most? Your favorite thing?
That's a great question. I guess there's so many things I could touch on. But if I be really honest, the fact that I get to do it with my children. I think the fact that I get to show families that things are possible as a nucleus. So we can all be individual, we can all have our own dreams, but organically we can be a part of that. We're very good at supporting each other at whatever else we're doing. So the best thing that I must say is getting to impact people's lives, but working alongside my children, them teaching me teaching them, and it's just an organic ebbs and flow.
I was just going to ask Sabrina, when I was reading your bio, you were saying you're extremely passionate about like a child and youth empowerment. So I was just thinking, would you say that there's a lot of young people that you come across who, let's say, they've not had the best upbringing and they're just without direction? And would you say that with a lot of young people that they don't have that direction and they need like that role model or influence in their lives to just show them the right way so they can achieve their full potential?
Do you know, I love this question so much, and I'm sure you'll see from my face, it actually hit a nerve for me. You see, for a long time, the conversations have been around young people being responsible for themselves and, needing a mentor here and there. It's deeper than that. When I see children, I see my children. When you're a mother or a father, you're not a parent just to your own. Every child you see, it comes back to your own kids. The thing that hurts me the most is not so much our youth. What hurts is the fragmentation of our community. What hurts the most is that so many adults or parents, just people in our community, our village, whatever we want to term it, are really letting our children down. I'll just be honest. Yeah. Kids are waiting to be poured into. Kids go from pillar to post, just knocking on doors and begging, can I just have an opening? when the reality is the home, they go home and their family don't care sometimes. And
Yeah.
it hurts because I can see how much they want to do this. And there's a lot of work we need to do in our community. There is so much work to do. And I think us as gatekeepers, we need to be willing to open the doors. Don't make it so hard. These young people keep being told to perform. They've had to perform so much to get to where they are. Give them a chance. Really just try not to ask for so much by the time they've got there, because they've had to fight a war just to get to the door.
Yeah, I mean, we found that ourselves with our like one of our challenges is called Proto EV. So we go into schools and youth clubs and teach young people how to convert used petrol go-karts into electric. But it's just about teaching them, inspiring them to pursue careers within STEM, like engineering or technology-based careers. But we found with, like, let's say when they see me and Nile, it's hence why we call it the See Me, Be Me podcast. It's that See Me, Be Me effect. So they essentially can see their possibilities within myself and Nile, because we're still at a young age, instead of, the usual suspects, like you say, an older, like older white guy going in there. And,
I thought you were going to say old.
So it's just more that encouraging, just show them that encouragement. And when we find that when they see someone of like a similar background to themselves, like let's say a young like a black person or whatnot, they see them, their realities within you, and it inspires them and shows them the opportunities that's out there. And I feel like with schools, they don't normally encourage, like, let's say with what we're doing with technology, it doesn't really inspire them to go into career paths like that. So it's similar with the young people that we've worked with as well.
Such a great point, especially schools. For that very reason, we actually launched a school tour. So we've got a Ben Salmi school tour that we go around into schools for that very reason. But I feel that the work that needs to also be done is the extension into the families, like really having good talks with dads. I think mums, and there's great, don't get me wrong, it's not saying dads are not, dads are phenomenal. They're not the dads we need to speak to. There are fathers that are not supported enough to support their kids. And that pain of their lack of involvement causes a wound that goes throughout that child's life, not just their childhood. So I think we're at a time now where we need that support from family, just to hold dad's hands, not to judge him, bring him in a bit, bring him alongside the kids. And the same for mums, because there's different people from different walks of life. But I think we need to go back for that community aspect to really bring the whole family on the journey. But I love the work you're doing. And this platform, wow. I wish you every success with this. Absolutely amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you. So speaking about young people and, and the young people that you've worked with, if you could give them some advice on, let's say they're a driven college student, or it could even be high school, 16, they're about to enter the real world. What piece of advice would you give them, and what advice would you give them that, let's say, that they should ignore, if that makes sense? So what advice would be best for them about to enter the real world, and then what advice should they ignore?
Brilliant. Great question. So I think the first thing that comes to mind is, if you know the pathway already, connect up with people so you can create this immersive experience for yourself. So be very mindful that we live in a digital world now, so we can't get away with not doing things. No matter what we apply for, someone will go on to some form of social media to look at your digital footprint. Now, I know young people hear this all the time. Try to behave yourself on social media. It will impact, okay? You might be having a great time. Maybe use a different name for having that kind of fun. Don't put your face on it. But create a digital blueprint that tells a story, so that when you're in front of somebody, they get an idea of what we do in the world, right? I always say to my kids when they were growing up, why do we need CVs? The reality is we need CVs because we don't know no one. That CV tells them what you've been doing and who they can go to reference the facts of what you've been doing. If young people create networks when they're younger, just coming out of school, the age that you've just highlighted, the CV doesn't really come from a blind aspect. People have been speaking about you already because of what they've seen you do digitally. So I really say use platforms like LinkedIn, like TikTok, use it in a sensible way that's geared towards where you desire to be. Connect yourself up with some sort of mentorship, face-to-face, online, digital, even YouTube videos. Just be very smart about what the direction is that you're going in. And I think the other thing I'd say, that when I was a teenager, I didn't know what I wanted to do. After football didn't work out for me, it's okay sometimes as a young person to not know what the next step is. Just keep moving. Does that make sense? Don't sit down in the motorway. Don't press the brakes in the middle of a dual carriageway, because something bad will happen, right? It's not so much about you knowing the end step sometimes. We've all got different journeys and it lands differently. It's more importantly about nurturing your character. I cannot emphasize this enough. Character, character, character. Not how we behave in public, but how we practice behaving at home, when people can't see, when no one else is around. Really have a good long think. Look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, what version of me do I need to become in order for me to achieve X? So that's kind of my advice around that, to be honest.
And then Sabrina, well, from the start of your journey to where you are now, what would you say are the 3 most important skills that you've picked up on your journey to make you the success, well, you and your family, the successes that you are today?
Oh God, these questions are so good. I think one of the things that really helped us and me individually was getting rid of the rules. Getting rid of the rules, what you think you need to do, just dig deep. When we went inwards, then outwards, as opposed to outwards, then inwards, it transformed the trajectory of what we were doing. So we didn't intend to be a family that was doing what we're doing. I'm just being honest. It all happened because we were just thinking about, where's our pathway? What's our assignment? Giving back, we having the right intent. So I think firstly is, don't follow what you see. Don't go down the pathway that's less traveled. Carve out your own pathway. The reality is, for some of us, our assignment isn't even existing. So don't look for it. You have to learn to be and trust yourself. Secondly, relationships. I can't emphasize this one enough. How we treat people is a big determining factor. I think sometimes we treat people thinking that they're not human. Sometimes we use people and cherish things, and we mustn't do that. What I really attest to what we're able to experience as family is because we truly care about people at their core. We love the people we began with and where we're going, because as you're going up, you'll meet them. As you're coming down, you'll meet them. And life, it's organic. It just keeps going. So I think how we treat people is so important. Brand advocacy, what do people say about you outside of when you're in the room, okay? I love friends that talk about us behind our backs in rooms filled with opportunities. That's why we get calls spontaneously, right? And I think it should have been my number one, but the third one I'm going to share is God. I think sometimes we're all about our own doing. Like I said at the start, I was going to have a career in computing, and I had that set, brilliant salary. I would have been able to create this beautiful utopia for my family. That's what I thought. But what I realized when I looked back, I was actually fighting with the direction God already gave me. I was supposed to homeschool many years ago. I was too scared to. I just couldn't let go. I was like, I'm scared. I don't know what to do. Sometimes we need to surrender to the process. And I really mean that. The time when we surrender to our process, when we connected with people at deep level, when we just surrendered to what the assignment was, it meant that we started to saturate everywhere. So all of what you're seeing us do, I wouldn't like to take glory for that. Really and truly, I really attest it to God. I was a single mum, then I was a married lone parent, and I became a single mum again. And I've been on my knees and I've cried to God. And I asked for direction because I knew I had 5 kids in this world and I didn't want them to fail. And none of what we do, I can say it was all my doing. Absolutely not. So there's something else that happens when you surrender.
Fantastic. And then in terms of your own legacy, Sabrina, let's just say, how would you like people to remember you, like, let's say in 10 years' time, like the legacy that you leave behind?
Oh, that's a great question. We're always talking about that in our family. this came about in a family meeting. Why do we always plan about leaving a legacy and we don't often talk about living the legacy?
Yeah.
So the legacy that we're kind of living is creating those milestones. I really want to be remembered or known. You know, when the thought process is that, oh, that's that family, is inspiration, raising aspiration in young people, raising aspiration for families. Like if I'm an accountant, I'm a doctor, how do we bring all that back together as a family? So we plant seeds in everyone else's forest. How do we continue planting seeds in our forest? And I think as a family or as an individual, I would really love to be the person that comes to mind when you think about legacy, when you think about, wow, okay, I never thought about family meetings. I never thought about thinking about our family as an institute and running it accordingly. So those are the kind of things I'd like to be coming to someone's mind for.
Cool.
And in terms of the skills that have made you into the success you are, what 3 skills would you say have been pivotal towards getting you to where you are now?
God, these questions are so good. Right, so I think mindset, we touched on it. And mindset in the capacity of what do I need to lean on in this given moment? Does that make sense? Because, you know, the mindset means that it's set. But I guess the word I'm looking for is mindset fluidity. Like, how do we have that ebbs and flow in everything that we're doing? I always say to the kids this analogy of having a jug of water and pouring it into a glass. The shape doesn't remain the same. So I think that mindset fluidity really helps. Being dynamic is a big deal to what we do. And let me just give you an idea what I mean by dynamic. So I think sometimes we're often told to stay in our lane. Don't believe that. Don't believe the hype. I don't know where it came from. I don't know why we do it. Stay in our lane limits our potential. I used to go to networking events, and if you were doctors, they only want to speak to doctors, solicitors. Don't do that. You see, there's a reason why we're all different. And I always use the analogy of a puzzle box, right? In a puzzle box, the puzzle pieces, there's no duplicate pieces. And sometimes the person you've connected to will connect you to something else. Expatiate our interests. The reality is I might be a doctor on the surface, but I might be an avid golf or tennis player behind the scenes. So don't stay in your lane, like saturate everything. And as a family, we're on that journey where we're crossing over into gaming. You know, we are all connected. Anybody who knows me knows that I repeat things over and over again. I've got this statement I say to people, we're all connected, about love, about trusting our thoughts. Because that's the reality, is don't stay in your own lane. Please just, you're so much more powerful than you believe you are. So that is definitely a big one. Realizing that I'm much stronger than I initially thought I was. I know much more than I think I know consciously, you know, where we just absorb everything. We absorb. And it's all in there. You have to call on it. And I think the third one is lifelong learning. I cannot emphasize that enough. It's not school, college, university, and then we stop. You know, it's lifelong learning. Realize the fact that you are a student in the university of life. Always be open to learn. In order to become a fantastic leader, you also need to be a phenomenal follower.
Fantastic.
I was going to ask Sabrina as well, because one of the things you're really passionate about, like giving opportunities to young people. So what I wanted to ask is, what advice would you give to organizations who are in terms of like investing in like young people, like homegrown talent and, you know, apprenticeship opportunities and whatnot? What advice would you give to organizations that are looking to like expand their workforce, and what would you say for them to, you know, to give opportunities to young people?
I think that's so important. It's something that we're actually working on as a family. Great question. I think organizations need to be open to having young people from different walks of life be on a formal board, be on the board, because the reality is there are things that we learn by osmosis, by discussion. If they're not on the board, you can't have these conversations. And let me tell you, your company will transform by having them on these boards. Invite them in. there are things that you can teach them, but believe me, they will come with a treasure chest of what they can teach you. So I think going into communities, definitely giving these young people a chance. Henry Ford model, create your own clientele, bring them in, give them a sense of responsibility, because, you know, just like anybody in the world, if you've had to swim and fight to stay alive, you've definitely learned some wise talents that you can share. So they'll be able to depart and impact amazing things on your organization. I think just give them a seat at the table. That's my answer to that one.
Excellent. Well, no, what we're going to do now, Sabrina, is going to head to the bonus questions of the podcast. So I'm going to ask you 3 little fun questions, but I would say one of them's quite serious, and I will judge you on the answer that you give. So I think we should get we should get that one out of the way first. No pressure. Should pineapple be on a pizza?
Oh yes, absolutely. I love pineapples. My kids say no all the time. Not a lot of people. I love pineapples. Just Sabrina, give me a couple of slices.
Oh no! Sorry, Sabrina. This is the end of the podcast now. We can't go any further. No, I think you're the third person on the podcast that said pineapples belong on a pizza.
I love it. My kids say it makes it soggy. It tastes disgusting. Why?
It just seems bizarre to have it on there. It's just crazy. Keep the ham, but just get rid of the pineapple.
Oh, so funny.
Oh no, that's fun. That's funny. Okay. Second one is, if you could throw a dinner party tonight, and you can invite up to 3 people, dead or alive, who would you invite?
That's a great question. A great question. Gosh.
Could be celebrities, could be people in your own personal life.
Do you know, I would love to say my forefathers and foremothers. I would love to know the missing link of what wasn't handed down. I would love to know what they needed at that time that we didn't get, that halted us somewhat as a family. I would love to know where things went wrong so we knew what to do with some of those missing links. So that would be a great dinner.
And then the last question is, if you could have any superpower, which one would it be and why?
Oh, God. The gift of healing through touch. God, I don't want to get too emotional. I'm an empath and I love deeply. One of the hardest things for me is that I meet so many people that are in so much pain, and I just want to take that pain away. I meet so many people that have lived their lives for decades, feeling unloved, feeling unwanted. So I would love, and it's actually my prayer. I don't want to pray, but it's actually my prayer. Like I always say to God to use me as an instrument of love and healing. I pray that when people see my kids, they see the divinity in them. 5 means grace. So I always say that it's not necessarily things that we say, but just in seeing God, let that be transformation for them. So the gift of healing by touch would be amazing, or just by seeing sight. I would just love to take pain away from so many people that I meet.
That is a unique superpower, and actually it's very beautiful. Like, I've never actually thought about that one, but the world would be a much more happier place if people could just be at ease and take that pain away.
So right. And some of the most hungriest people, some of the people that hurt others the most, they just got a lot of pain. As a coach, I do personal development, and I see is we've got 12 pains that it all originates from, like abandonment, fear of failure, all these pains, and it's understanding how we can move through them, just taking that pain away so they don't feel that it's not worth continuing with love. Just get people back to a place of love.
Yeah. Do you know what? Yeah, the world just needs more people like you, and
us all.
Even 40 something minutes in, I'm inspired. I just feel happy and ready for the rest of the day. So I think everyone, you know what, just come and meet Sabrina, and your pain will go away.
Oh. Oh.
No, but Sabrina, it's been an absolute pleasure having you as a guest on the See Me Be Me podcast. If people want to follow you on your journey, where can they find out more about you, or in terms of social handles, what are they?
So we've got a family Instagram, so it's the Ben Salmi family. And then all of us just put author before our names. So author Shay Ben Salmi, author Trajon Ben Salmi. We're all over. If you just put our names into Google searches, we'll come up on various platforms. I tend to frequent mostly on LinkedIn. Some reason Facebook has taken down my Instagram and my Facebook, so I'm not sure what's going on there. No one can contact. But yeah, we're accessible on many different platforms.
Excellent. Well, that's all we've got time for, folks. Again, thank you for Sabrina for being a guest, and I'm sure we'll have you back on in a future episode.
Oh, I
hope you come back. And I hope
nice to come back with my young people. I think they can, like you said, it's see me, be me. It's that resonance of that peer-to-peer learning. Peer-to-peer learning is the difference that makes the difference. So young guys, both of you, keep doing the phenomenal work you're doing.
Thank you.
And thank you so much.
Blair,
Niall,
what did you think of today's guest?
I found Sabrina's story really inspiring, being that she's managed to raise 5 young children who've gone down the career of being like entrepreneurs in their own right. I think it's just a fantastic story of a single mother raising 5 successful young children who've essentially gone into the deep end and running their own businesses, and particularly the conversation that we had in regards to not being scared of failure, and how it's only with failure that you truly learn from like past like decisions and whatnot. And failure essentially shapes you into who you are today. So you can only learn from failure, because if you keep succeeding and succeeding and succeeding, you'll never learn and grow and develop. And that just goes to show exactly the importance of failing to get to the right outcome. What about yourself?
Yeah, for me, there was a couple of things. Going from her background, we've heard it that, she's always been so driven, passionate, and determined, and a lot of that had to do with her faith.
Yeah.
And that, it's like God was channeling a lot of, especially for her book, told her, write this book. It's called Homeschooling, wasn't it? Homeschooling. Yeah. And then to release it on her birthday, was it?
I believe it was, yeah.
Yeah. So her faith has always been a big determining factor in pushing her and to strive to do well. But it's interesting about, her growing up as well, and, how she used to play football for Millwall ladies. And quite often I've seen with some of our guests that have been on there is that I think sport plays a big factor because it's that team working, but you're striving to be the best. And I think that develops with the mindset of like, you will do anything to be a success and to get to where you want to be and to hit and to achieve your goals. And I feel like that's probably what Sabrina has taken into every aspect of her life, is that she sets herself goals, whether mini goals or big goals, and she strives to achieve them. It's very interesting that she obviously got to the age of 18 and decided to do a degree in computer science and was going to be an engineer, but decided to go against that and to be, obviously she had a daughter when she was 18 and was raising her daughter while at university, which obviously was a very hard thing and tricky thing to do, to juggle raising a child and trying to complete an education, but she did it, and credit to her. And now she's got 5 wonderful kids who are all doing amazing things and got publishing deals.
And now, she's not only just raising them, but also giving back to young people across the UK and helping them with their mindset. But obviously, she's a multi-award winning author. She's a coach, trained in NLP, and she's renowned public speakers and have been on TV, BBC Radio, BBC, ITV, Channel 4. So very, very acclaimed, and doing amazing things.
And then even just being featured as number 2 on Voice's top 50 inspirational Black women in the UK. I mean, it's an outstanding achievement to be recognised just at that level, really. And one of my main takeaways is just also how she was speaking to us about the importance of mindset, and how with our young people who've not got say the role models in their life to lead them down the right path, the importance of just shaping our young people's mindset, so they essentially believe in themselves and get their full potential. So I just found a story really inspiring. So I believe a 3 was mindset, how you treat others, so just relationships with people, and success is all about relationships. We've had it in business as well, that people will do business with you, or it's all about whether they like you or not. So first impressions is everything and whatnot. But that's life, isn't it? It's all about your relationships, your connections, how you build with one another, and that's how success comes to be, isn't it? So, and then just also with Sabrina, her faith in God as well. So her faith in God has brought her to where she is now, and God's essentially brought her the success that she has today.
Yeah. And on that note, we hope you have enjoyed today's episode. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to all of our social media channels. We are on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube at The Blair Project, and we're at Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at Get Me Motoring. So stay tuned for another exciting jam-packed episode, and see you on the next one.
Peace out, everyone.
If you've liked today's episode, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. The Blair Project is on all major social media platforms, including Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube at The Blair Project. We're also on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Yes, we are on TikTok at Get Me Motoring. If you'd like to follow myself individually, I am on Instagram at Nile Henry, and also LinkedIn at Nile Henry as well.
And if you want to follow myself, I'm on Instagram as BlairHenry_97, and also on LinkedIn as just Blair Henry.
So we look forward to having you on the next episode. So stay tuned. Take care.
Until next time.